Niall Fortner, welcome to the My Tribe podcast.
I love this. I love this background, by the way, with the lion and everything.
Dude, thank you. You're the first person that I've had in this studio. I've been setting this up for a little while now, and welcome in. This is amazing.
No, I like the studio. We got some water bottles. I got a protein bar here, thanks to Patrick. So,
sponsored by Shrivani. Shout out Shrivani. We were just talking about the ultimate networking experience.
That's right.
And you were mentioning how Merge Broward, that they don't have their Super Bowl of a networking experience, correct?
Yeah, I talked about it a little bit with them, like our ultimate networking experience. So I love Emerge Broward. I'm on the develop committee, and we're always talking ideas. And I know we briefly talked about this, but now I'm here to talk about it with you.
Yeah. So, what makes a networking experience special for you?
For me, it's when you go in with an agenda, but yet you get a little loose at the same time. So yeah, everybody goes in there with the idea of I'm going to meet somebody, I'm going to network and shake hands and give business cards. But to me, that's predictable. It's like Times New Roman font on a college essay. Mm-hmm. Everybody expects it. Mm-hmm. But if you go in there and you do those things, but on top of that, you're maybe a little more energetic, you have a little more fun, you're not afraid to be yourself, mm-hmm. and you really just make the most of that out of that experience by just having that authentic aura, but plus still having that professionalism. So if you combine those things, to me that makes the ultimate networking experience.
Okay. Now I know a lot of our followers here, they've been invited to networking experiences and different networking meetings, whether it be Emerge Broward, whether it be somewhere else. Mm-hmm. What is, that was a good bit of advice there. What are some of the key values that you have going into a networking experience? Like, what are the top three values that you go in there with?
Well, I kind of treat it like speed dating in a way. Mm-hmm. Like you go to someone and we have a TikTok brain now. Everybody has that short attention span. Just go up to someone, introduce yourself, tell them your name, what you do, ask them what they do. If they're a good fit, you continue the conversation elsewhere. You leave that person like a movie trailer, just enough to get them to come back to see the rest of the show, that show being you. So if you give somebody just a little bit of who you are, but you leave them wanting more, and then you give them a business card or your Instagram, your email, whatever it is, your LinkedIn, then on top of that, they're going to follow up with you. And if they don't, that's okay. It's like speed dating, on to the next person.
So why is it important for them to have that psychology of them wanting more?
Well, nobody wants to get bored within the person within a few minutes. And plus, if you say everything about yourself when they follow up with you, there's nothing left to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I noticed that about yourself when I've been a part of Emerge Broward for a very limited time now, mm-hmm. but I've been in a couple events, and no matter what circle that I find myself communicating in, or I see you bopping from here, bopping from there, you're here, you're here, you're there, you're talking to everybody in the group. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that makes a bit of a master networker. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are nervous to go up to individuals at networking events. They don't know how to talk to people without having a couple of drinks in them.
Right.
How do you manage those nerves? How do you manage that is that an anxiety for you? Is that something that's a struggle for you?
It is, honestly, and I feel like it is for most people, whether it's anxiety or you have butterflies in your stomach. But it's like the more you do it, the more you feel comfortable with it. And luckily, I'm now at the point where some people actually approach me, so it does make it a little easier. But for years, I was always that guy where it's like, if there's an event, I'll just stand next to the table where the chips and guacamoles and just lean up against the wall. But then I was like, I'm not really getting the most out of this. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, let me just try it. And I made a plan, just talk to as many people as possible. If I go home and I speak to 3 people, I did something good. And then I made it like a video game where I was trying to get to that next level. And I'm like, okay, today's 3 people, but maybe tomorrow 4, maybe tomorrow's 5. And then I just started trying to make it like a challenge for myself to do that. And then even with Emerge Broward, I was with some friends, Gary and Brittany. We went out one night. We stayed out till literally midnight, maybe 1 a.m. And we're just gonna get phone numbers and business cards and just talk to as many people as possible. And I really feel like that helped me a lot, honestly. And it was something where it's like, here's Emerge Broward, but we took more networking to the streets, you know? It's like it started here.
And that wasn't an Emerge Broward, that was just a night out.
That was just like a night out pretty much. Yeah.
Random night out at a bar?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, we went to like Moxie's, American Social, and just like hit up Los Olas.
Okay. And you went, and whose idea was that?
It was Brittany, I think, actually, who came up with the idea. And I actually liked that idea. It's like, because that's how you learn to actually speak to people and network, by just speaking to random people. Mm. And then that way, when you actually go to the networking event, it's like, well, I already have experience. I spoke to 7 other random strangers. Now I'm good to go, because we're all here for the same thing, to network. So to me, that makes it a little easier.
Okay.
It's like a cold approach, almost.
Yeah, you got your reps in.
Yeah. And of course, you know, sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's difficult. People are like, I don't want to talk to you or whatever, but that's okay. Mm. You know, it's like, on to the next person.
How do you deal with that rejection?
Or rejection is like a part of life, honestly. It's, you know, it might sting for a little bit, but like once again, one person says no, but 4 other people said yes. So either way, it's a success.
Mm. Okay. And I guess what's your best opener? Like what's your, in a networking situation?
Honestly, it's funny you mentioned that, because so many people have these like one-liners and stuff, especially with like Emerge Broward, at least for me at least. Mm-hmm. Like I've gotten like, oh, it's great to meet you, sir. And I'm like, sir, you know, is my dad here? Or people feel like they have to like compliment you right away. And those things may work, mm-hmm. but I really feel like nothing beats, hi, my name is. Like, that's an Eminem song.
Yeah, my name is Slim Shady.
But yeah, just simply saying, hi, my name is, and go from there.
Okay.
Especially if it's someone like, you know, you see something like, I don't know what it is, it's like a vibe, like it's like I could vibe with that person. I don't know them, but I can speak to them and maybe get something from them. Okay. They can get something out of me.
How do you know when that vibe is right, appropriate? How do you know when that's the right vibe?
When we have the same mannerisms.
Mannerisms?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So if, like let's say I'm standing next to a person and we're at the bar and we're here for like a networking event, like Emerge Broward. If I'm drinking something and then they order the same thing, oh, that's interesting. And I know it sounds weird, but if we take a drink at the same time, it's like something's happening here. And that's happened a couple of times, so I'll just simply be like, hey, what's going on? And we take it from there.
I don't think I've ever heard of that. Like, okay. I guess, like what, studying mannerisms or like the body language of individuals?
Yeah.
In the sense of feeling the vibe out.
Yeah, definitely. Or like if, you know, somebody's like just simply leaning up against the wall and you're also leaning up against the wall, that means the two of you might be like the chill people of the party or the group or whatever.
Okay. Almost like vibrating at the same frequency.
Yeah.
Like, yo, we're here. All right, I'm going to do this. You're doing this. Cool, we're doing this together.
So you never noticed that? Like,
well, I would say like that aspect. If somebody's like sitting and another person's sitting, maybe, or some like people are just on the outside doing nothing, or vice versa. If it's me and a crazy person like Brent dancing, and we don't know each other, like, yo, I like the dance moves, man. It ends up, yes, that's definitely whether it be mannerisms or vibe or whatever. It's just you know, it's interesting how people pick up different vibes in them. It's just, you know.
And the two of you are like gym bros. You know this. Like you might like be in the gym and like someone's lifting or squatting, and then it's like, oh, that person is squatting just like me or something, and it's like just like a connection, you know?
Yeah, yeah. You could see, you know, somebody else working hard. Like, yo,
exactly.
Props to working hard. Keep it up. Keep it up. I like that. Yeah, that's okay. Now, yeah, I met you through Emerge Broward, and you know, you seem very passionate about it, about that, about networking. Tell me a little bit about how, like, behind that passion. Why is networking so important to you?
Honestly, like with Emerge Broward, I was very honest with them at our last meeting. They were just going around the room. It was around Thanksgiving, and they were like, "What are you thankful for when it comes to like Emerge Broward?" And I said, "It's, you know, putting networking aside, putting business aside, I'm just happy to make friends and like to just be who I am naturally. I don't have to like put on this phony as a football bat personality or anything like that. So that's what I'm happy about with Emerge, that I can be myself. And honestly, the reason I'm really passionate about it is like I was in this weird time in my life where I was like, other than people I've actually written about or like helped through like the media, I truthfully did not have that many friends.
Okay.
So I was like, it's my opportunity to not only network, but like make friends. And then, through making friends, then people might want to network with you and things like that. And I just really wanted to get like involved with my community because, I'm a journalist. I write for like different newspapers, magazines, all like local businesses, entrepreneurs, artists. But those were like somewhat older people, and I was like drawn to Emerge Broward because this was a demographic towards people a little closer to my age as well. So I was just wanting to learn more about my community, honestly. And it kind of goes back to being a journalist, asking questions, being curious, and that's what I did. And it was my friend Maxens, we were working with Venice Magazine at the time, and he's like, you should check out Emerge Broward. And I kind of was like, yeah, I'll check it out when I feel like it. But when I did, I was really thankful that I did.
And when was that?
This was actually like 3 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
And then it just took me a while to finally look up Emerge Broward. And I think I may have seen something on LinkedIn where it was like a reminder, like, oh yeah, my friend did tell me about that. Let me check it out.
And when did you finally go in the door, get introduced, and get involved with Emerge Broward? How long has that been?
October of last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful.
And then it was, once again, just going to networking events. I was going to a few. Once again, a little quiet in the beginning, but once I really started talking to people and like going back to their mannerisms, things like that, it really just kicked off. And that's when I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. This is something I can get involved with. And then I think it was the Walk Like Mad event where someone was like, yeah, this guy should like be more involved behind the scenes. And then one day they just called me, it was Kristen, she called me and she was like, you're on the develop committee now. And I'm like, oh, great.
I was going to say, I know you have a leadership role. It's on the development committee.
Yes.
And what does that entail, so to say? What is that, like, what's your purpose there?
So it's me and Adara, she's my co-chair. We discuss like educational things for Emerge Broward. So the first event that I personally did was how to network at networking events with Talisha Joseph. And she talked about, once again, like what to say when you walk in, how to act, even if your your elevator pitch is too long, things like that. So it was how to network at networking events. And then from there, the second one was Michael Sommers. Brent actually went to that event. It was about buying your first home in real estate. So we do a lot of educational things for Emerge Broward. We do fun things as well, like the boxing class. We're doing billiards next week. Actually, I think it's this week. I have to check the calendar. But we're always doing like fun
billiards in the description now.
Yeah, we're always doing fun things, but we're the more educational aspect of Emerge Broward.
Yeah, well, the personal development aspect.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, I gotcha. Well, beautiful, man. I mean, what kind of role is personal development playing in your life currently?
Personal development could mean a lot of things. People think it just means money and work-related stuff, but that is important, of course. But like even like just improving your health. Like we were talking about protein bars earlier, and how I bake like healthy cookies and things like that. So just like health-related stuff, and just being mindful of like the surroundings you're in and things like that, I think really helps me personally.
How old are you?
I'm going to be 31 in January.
All right, let's go. In January what?
21st.
21st.
Aquarius, first day of Aquarius.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's yeah, man. It's a how was turning 30 for you?
30 was actually very interesting. Like it wasn't scary for me. It was almost like a wake up call a little bit, because it was I remember when I turned 30, I kind of was like, what's going on, And it was like, I really just wanted to make something of myself, and that was one of the reasons I got involved with Emerge Broward. And I was kind of like, I could use more friends, I could network a little bit more. I felt stuck, like I'm just doing the same thing. And then that's when I'm like, it's time to expand and go beyond what's expected of me. Everyone expected me to just be the journalist that writes the articles and goes home. And I was like, oh, what happens if I get involved with a nonprofit? What happens if I write something, but it's maybe a little different from what I normally write? And I just wanted to like challenge myself, and I just really sat down one day and I'm like, where's this going? Not that I'm old or anything, because we're not, but me personally, I asked myself that question. And at the time, not to get like too deep or anything, but
Let's get deep.
Okay.
Let's get deep.
Like my mom was in the hospital at that time, so it's like between my mom being in the hospital and just worrying about finances and just being scared for my family, it was like, life is short. So, one day I'm gonna be 30 this and 40 that, and then life is kind of finished. So it's like, do what you want to do. If you're thinking about it, do it. If you love someone, if you like someone, tell them. And that's kind of like what happened to me at 30. I just felt the need to come out of my shell a little bit more and just try new things.
Seems like a pivotal turning point for you.
Yeah, and I would like to think for other people too, because not to sound like I'm preaching or anything, but I've said this stuff to other people before, especially family members.
I don't think it seems like you're preaching. I think not enough people live their life in this manner.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough people see that, whether it be a 30, whether it be a defining moment in their life where they have the, I almost died, or this, that, or the other thing. I know I had that. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get my shit together and figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's why I ended up sitting in a chair in South Florida. But regardless, not enough people have those realizations, and sometimes, both unfortunately and fortunately, it happens when we're in those stressful moments, when our mom's in the hospital, and things are not going according to plan. So if things go according to plan every day, nothing's gonna change.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like that movie Fight Club. It was just going through life, kind of mundane and just boring and predictable.
Okay. So I guess how long has it been since then? Since that scene of Fight Club of your life, if you will.
Even before 30, honestly.
Before 30? No, I'm saying so the turning point was 30.
It was definitely 30.
It's been almost a full 12 months now.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And then in February, that's when it kind of I was like, okay, it's a little over a month now, it's going on the next month, and I'm like, yeah, it's time to really shake things up a bit.
How does it feel to have shaken things up a bit?
Actually feels good, actually. I feel like I've made more friends and more opportunities. We were even talking about what I did earlier this year, and that was something, me personally, I thought I would never do, actually. Because once again, it goes back to kind of what I said earlier. You go above and beyond what's expected of you. When?
You said you're going above and beyond of what's expected of you.
Yeah.
At the turning point?
At the turning point, yeah.
Okay. I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
As one of my editors said, he's like, put your foot on the gas. What's taking so long? And I was like, that kind of hit me right there,
So what action did that invoke specifically?
Well, for me personally, I was always doing things for other people. I don't know if I'm a people pleaser or anything like that, but I was always like, this is something that I could do for myself. And the editor and I, we met up one day, and he's like, yeah, I'm glad that you write for me and things like that, but have you ever thought about making your own thing, your own publication or your own business or something? And I said, no. And he's like, you should. And meanwhile, all these other people were kind of telling me to stay in my lane.
Such as,
once again, just do what you're expected to do. Just write this.
Who are those people?
I won't say names.
Yeah.
But they were certain editors of publications and just things like that.
Colleagues or mentors?
Colleagues, yeah.
Okay. If you can generalize it.
Yeah, definitely.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I just felt once again, there was a ceiling, and I was here, but they didn't want me to go to that next level above. And then there was this one editor who was like, do it. And, just certain colleagues were saying things like, well, if you were to do this, you wouldn't stand a chance. And that kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. And then I was kind of like, I'll show you. Yeah. maybe I will fail, but at least I can say I tried, and if I succeed, then, hey, you're the one who kind of looks like the clown now.
Wow. That's powerful. I'll show you.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I kind of hope to do with this new venture.
Which is, if you can share.
Yeah.
I feel comfortable sharing, you don't have to.
Well, I shared with some other people already, but it's very early. But in 2025, Our South Florida, old magazine that will, actually, excuse me, an old newspaper that was a publication and a website I used to write for them, is getting rebooted. We're going to focus more on lifestyle, entrepreneurs, real estate artists, and we're going to redesign the logo, and I actually purchased it from them. So I am the owner of Our South Florida and also Los Olas Insider. So 2025, I'm aiming for February to make the announcement, but it's time to go.
Let's go. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Our South Florida.
Yeah, I used to write for them, and they weren't even on Instagram, so it kind of shows you where they were. And we're redesigning the logo, everything. It's a new, I guess, a coat of paint, if you want to put it that way.
Okay.
And it's time to reboot it and see what we can do. And once again, I went from just being a freelance writer for them to now, owning the fucking company.
Owning the fucking company.
Yeah, so, and
wow.
that kind of goes back to what I said, to like going above and beyond what's expected from you.
Yeah. How did you manage and are still managing the risk or uncertainties involved with owning a business?
Well, I'm very new. I've never done anything like this before. So I kind of said to my parents, right now it feels like the honeymoon phase. Like, it's exciting. I'm really just looking forward to everything. But realistically, it's like, no, that phase is gonna come to an end. So for me, it's like, it's time to execute now. So it's like that honeymoon phase for me is kind of slowing down.
Okay.
But now it's like, maybe I have to like bring on a team of people. How are we going to bring on advertisers? So it's like, once reality hits you, then it's like you just make an agenda for yourself of what to do. And just so far, every day I've been like editing the website, trying to work with videographers and photographers and things like that, just to really get this thing going.
And amazing, man. That's that honeymoon phase is great, and it's fun and it's easy when it's called ideological, and then it's rubber to the road. And I guess what challenges do you expect to face in this new venture?
Other than it costing money, sometimes you have to spend money to make a little bit of money. That's normal for every business. But the challenges that I think I will face, honestly, I think I'm going to face people like, it hurts me to say this, but not support it until it's already an established thing. Because it reminds me very much of like the entrepreneurs who say things like they share with people what they had or what they were doing, and then they didn't support them until they already kind of made a name for themselves. And if that's what people do, that's fine, because there's the people who've been down with me and other people since day one, and those are the people I think I actually want to cater to the most. But like, it's not really so much challenges, it's how you overcome the challenges, I think. That's more important.
Most certainly. Do you have an example of overcoming a challenge recently? Maybe not related to this business, but something that was personal, whether maybe professional?
That's a good question. Overcoming a challenge. Honestly, I don't know if it's like a challenge that I gave to myself, but when that editor was like, "You don't stand a chance," that kind of really did like hurt me a little bit. So I think that challenge was, I'm going to work on myself to show that I do prove a chance. So that's why I'm doing things like this podcast, or networking, or working with like other people who have multimedia aspects. And I really think that was just a personal struggle for me, because I really wanted to show not only to this lady but to myself that I do stand a chance. And I think it was a challenge that I put on myself, but I'm kind of glad that I did, because it was like, it's the time for me to, I keep saying above and beyond, but it's like evolving or evolution. It's like that next phase that's going to make you stick around a lot longer than what most people might expect.
Yeah, I was just reading something. It's the level of uncertainty you're able to manage is going to be in direct proportion to the level of happiness and success in your life. So if you can take on a lot of debt and you're able to manage that in a proper and logical, whatever the business approach way, your business is going to succeed. But it's a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of other examples of that. Obviously, here it's a prime example of an uncertainty of a newspaper that is a newspaper in itself. I mean, that the idea of a newspaper is almost archaic. What do you say to somebody that says that to you?
Honestly, it's funny because all the people who advertised with our South Florida, they were like, well, what's happening here? So I was doing the old school thing. I called them and I'm like, hey, I know the future is uncertain, but we are once again shaking things up a bit. We're going to try this new outlet. If you want to stay as an advertiser, that's fine. If you want to go, that's fine. And so far, they all kind of left. And that's okay. Because once again, just going back to that uncertainty, it's that chance to now, instead of rely on the old, you make way for the new. And I just think having some kind of faith is very important. Like, if you really believe in yourself to do something and you don't half-ass it, I think it will pay off in some kind of way. And I straight up told like my friends and my family members, once I purchased this thing, once I made these social media pages for it, there's no going back. So it's like, once I did this, I'm like, yeah, we're not going back. And the only way we're going to go back is if we go down under. So that's how it is. I think for most entrepreneurs too.
That's a commitment.
Yeah.
That's a commitment. And what is it about the entrepreneurial lifestyle that appeals to you?
Honestly, I've always, well, not always, a majority of my life, I always worked freelance. So I always thought like being an entrepreneur, setting your own hours and working on your own schedule, but yet still making some form of income or building, relationships. I kind of felt like that was like a boss move, And I just always was drawn to that because I always liked the idea of like working for yourself, making your own hours, and not having to work for the man, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And there have been times, like everybody, of course, I've done those things, but like I remember, like I went back to freelance journalism after working full time, and I wasn't making as much, but I felt like I just felt better. Like there was so much weight on my shoulders, and it's like when you have the heavy bags, you finally just put it down.
From what transition from where to where though?
Oh, it was very similar to journalism. It was public relations in Boca Raton, and then I said I just want to go back to freelance journalism.
It was like a 9 to 5 in PR.
Yeah.
And you went okay.
And it was nice, but I felt like I had freedom. It's like that scene in The Shawshank Redemption when he finally gets out and it's the rain. That's how I honestly felt.
And it crawled through the tunnel of shit of PR and you got out the other side of freelance.
Yeah. Well, once again, I made my own hours and I just felt happier. Honestly, around that time, I was like not the healthiest. I was eating junk food and like just gaining weight. And then it's like, well, now I freelance, so I can still get work done. I can cook my own meals. I can go to the gym if I need to. And just, once again, be like your own boss. That's what always appealed to me with like entrepreneurship and like freelance and things like that.
Being your own boss. It's quite a paradox.
It's true though. I like it.
Being your own boss is you gotta report to yourself. Nobody else is coming down on you, shaking yo, what are we doing? Where are we at? It's just you. And I guess, how's it been thus far, being your own boss, being in freelance?
Oh, I love this, honestly. Like there have been other positions that I've done, public relations. Someone offered me like a security role, like that's what my dad used to do. But nothing beats like I know it sounds corny, but like I love when I just sit down and get to know people and tell their story, and then when it's like actually published, and it's like that's your work, and then it makes them happy on top of it. I just feel like that's what I was meant to do, honestly. Like, even if I were to do something else, I feel like I would still somewhat make room for this, like some kind of way.
Okay. And how did you get into journalism and this passion, this mission?
Well, to go way back, I remember being in, what was it? Oh my goodness. Well, I always liked stories. Like, I always liked movies and reading like comic books and stories and all of those things, and hearing my dad's stories, because he talks. He can talk your ear off, but he always has amazing stories.
Okay.
So I always loved stories. But like around 8th grade, I remember I had to write a school essay, and this was a way of like getting us to like get to know each other a little bit. The teacher assigned us an assignment, like, hey, just talk to your classmates and write about them, like maybe write a page or two, and just tell their story of who they are. So I did that, and there was a girl in my class who was a handicapped student, and I told her story, and she was very honest with me. She's like, I go through this struggle, and sometimes people like look at me and things like that. And you know, I just wrote the story, and I got a good grade on it. And then I'm like, okay, if it's good enough for a good grade, what happens if I do something else with this? There was a publication literally right across the street, like in the same almost plaza. I went to Piper High School, and I also wrote for the school blog as well. No, that was a year after. I'm sorry, it's a lot of history. But this is 8th grade, junior high. Anyway, I took that assignment on the student, and they actually ran with it. And I was
What
like,
do you mean you took it?
no, like it was because I'm showing my age here. I printed out, like, you know, back when you had to print the assignments. Like, yeah, and there was an A on it, and I physically like printed that assignment, gave it to the publication. They read it, and they were like, yeah, we would like to put this in our newspaper.
You walked across the street by yourself at 8th grade?
Well, yeah, and it was after school, because I remember I used to walk home a little bit, but
You had the idea to go in there and say,
Yeah.
you know what, this thing could make me some money?
well, yeah, because I'm like, if it's good, because that's the thing, if it's good enough for a good grade, and they're preparing us for the real world is getting paid through good grades, if you want to put it that way. And I'm like, okay, that's a publication across the street. I like stories, and this is good enough to get a good grade. What happens if they take this story that other people like and that I like? And maybe they'll like it too, and luckily they did. And yeah, I just started writing a whole bunch of stuff. And then by the time I got to high school, Piper High School, I was Mr. Conde's class. It was like a multimedia class. We did videos, we wrote for the school blog. I would write for that blog. So I would write about like different students, help with videos. Some of the students did music videos as well. Just, yeah, like simple stuff for like in the community. And that way, by the time I got to college, I'm like, well, I'm kind of already doing this stuff already. It's just to get the degree to back it up now.
Okay.
And yeah, that's how I kind of got into like the whole journalism thing, honestly. And just even like it goes above and beyond like just local stuff. I used to write for a comic book website and like movie websites. So it was just, I always had this mindset of, if it's good enough for like this person, what happens if I share this with other people and they might like it too? And it was like a way of, not even with like, yeah, it's growing your resume, but it's also growing your reputation as well.
Most certainly. What gave you the perspective or the confidence to walk into that publication at 8th grade?
Well, honestly, when you're in 8th grade, it's like, you know, your testosterone is running wild, you got hormones, or I don't know what I was thinking that day, but honestly, I think I just felt like it. Like literally, that's what it was. I just felt like it.
Wow.
It's either it's like, well, what else? Like once again, going above and beyond what's expected. I'm like, well, instead of just walking home and like going home and half-assing homework so I can play Xbox or whatever, it's like instead of doing the same mundane thing, what happens if you go above and beyond what's expected of you? And I just felt like it.
It's another turning point for you there.
That is, yeah. You're right for that, actually.
That was that's a bold move. That's amazing. I give you a lot of credit for that one.
And back then I had a little flip phone. It was like red and black. And I called my parents, And they were like, "Wait, what's going on?"
It's not like if I'm that guy like receiving this from like, are you got a parent? Like, how am I gonna pay you for this?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what it was, because they were like, because how old was I, Nathan? Not even 16, 15?
I would say you probably, like maybe 13, 14, 15. Yeah, something in that range.
And I think legally you have to pay someone at the age of 16, so I was a little under. But they called my parents, and my parents helped me out and whatnot. So thank you, Mom and Dad.
What to be a mom and a father, to be parents to a freelance and entrepreneur, as you said, I'm not sure what your mom does, but so your dad worked security.
Yeah, he did security, homeland security, just different like security jobs over the years. At one point, he did security at Waffle House, which is crazy. Waffle House did security, but yeah, just always different jobs, things like that.
How did being not having a 9 to 5? How did your parents look at that growing up? How did paving your own road? How was that with from the perspective of a child to parents that may have had that security?
Like honestly, like my mom, I think was cool with it because she had a traditional office job.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she was like, let him try it out. My dad was a little concerned at the beginning. He wanted me to kind of do what he does, things like that, which maybe I am open to it. I get like security offers. Like I got one for Art Basel week actually.
Okay.
And I'm like, it's not where my heart is. And I kind of got honest with him. I'm like, Dad, I love you, but it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was tough for him to hear. But I would like to think when he sees the work that I've done now, which actually, let me take that back. I know he's proud of it because he shares it on Facebook, like, hey, look at my son's article, things like that. And there's people I don't even know, but they're like, I'm friends with your dad. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, he shares your articles and things like that. So I think to that at that aspect, he's proud. I know he is.
Mm. It could be tough. It could be tough with parents that are secure in what they know, and not that it's better or worse. And it was hard for my parents to understand me walking away from a very secure and lucrative career in New York City to go and to do this personal training and podcasting. I mean, like, are you out of your mind? And I didn't even have this plan by the time I walked away.
Right.
So I knew it was a very tumultuous, time period of our lives together.
Yeah.
So again, but doing it from a young age, I give you a lot of credit, man. That's bold.
Yeah, and I'm so thankful my parents support me. They could be like, most parents like throw me out of the house the way Uncle Phil threw Jazz off the house, or like just beat me over the head, like don't do stuff like this. But they really were open to it, and I'm just very thankful for that. And you should be thankful too.
Oh, listen, I'm immensely grateful and thankful to my parents for their, because it was difficult for them to see the vision. Mm-hmm. They couldn't see it at first. They couldn't understand that, like, why would you want to leave this? And they've known one way their whole life, and then COVID comes around. My mom gets laid off, and she's like, I worked for this company for so many years, and now just all of a sudden, like, oh, we have cutbacks. Sorry, yes, you just go. So you give your whole, you just give your whole life to your career to this, corporate America, and then just all of a sudden, goodbye. Here's here's a couple of years pay. Don't worry, see you later. Never call you again.
Literally, yeah.
And your life is not dependent on your actions. It's dependent on the decisions of people above you in the corporation. And I think, when at the beginning, when shit isn't going right, there's a lot of doubters. There's a lot of skeptics. There's oh, you should have stayed. Oh, what are you doing leaving this security? Da 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 da. But then when shit starts adding up, when shit starts going right, when you get your feet under yourself, then it's, as you said, when you're established. That's when you had a good vision, you had a good right. Like, you can't get fired.
Yeah.
You own the company. Who's gonna fire you? Like, if shit tanks, you're going down with the shit. That's it. But if it doesn't, we're sailing the high seas and we're successful. And there's literally no ceiling to what we could do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's through the time that we've the growth, all of us.
No one sees your vision until you see it. Remember that too.
What is your vision for our South Florida?
To make well, my statement is we're journalism, but we're more than journalists. We're your neighbors, we're your friends, we're people who are going to celebrate the South Florida lifestyle with you. Because the days of, just Clark Kent and Lois Lane being in the office and just putting the news out and no one knows who they are, they don't have any personalities. To me, that era is over. Like the reporters, the journalists, the influencers, whatever you want to call them, they're on the scene, they're on the streets with you, literally, at the networking events, at the restaurants. They're literally a part of your community. Mm-hmm. So they're the people in your community giving you the insider, but they're not like these nameless, faceless people.
Okay. I think there's too many of that nameless, faceless,
Mm-hmm.
both from traditional newspapers, A, B, now keyboard terrorists,
Yeah.
nameless,
Mm-hmm.
faceless, saying things and not getting punched in the face.
Mm-hmm.
So I give you props. That's it's a bold vision.
Yeah, I think it's something we can definitely build on. And, it's just, like, I have so many different ideas. Like, I want to, do videos and, I want to also make this fun as well. Like, I want to bring on, a team of people because I went to FAU, actually, and I spoke to some of those journalism students there. My old professor invited me back, and now's the time to, reach out to those students. Like, hey, if you want to build your resume, if you want to come, build something with me, now's the chance to be a part of this website, to maybe provide videos, provide articles, build your resume, your reputation. And then that way it's like you're making content not only for me, but for yourself.
Yeah, building your resume.
Yeah.
You started out building your resume.
Yeah.
And now you're the owner giving back.
That's the thing, I kind of want to
resume.
give back. Yeah, it's like, I did this, I was like you, so now I'm going to give you guidance and help you. And honestly, there's some things the world is not going to tell you until you figure it out, but I'll be here to help you.
Who helps you?
Oh boy, my parents helped me a lot. Honestly, you helped me with stuff like this. Emerge Broward helps me. I have to help me, but honestly, I feel like there's a lot of supporters, and I'm just so thankful for that. Especially my parents. Like if I have no one to speak to, they're always there to listen.
That's amazing.
Yeah, not everyone has that, so I'm very thankful, and I just love the idea that they actually kind of see the vision too, Because when I started explaining things to them and showing them what I'm working on, they were like, okay. Like even my dad was like, okay.
You've seen that mannerism.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, you mentioned Lois Lane and Clark Kent. You mentioned journalism. You're wearing a Superman necklace.
Oh, okay.
Where's the correlation here?
Actually, it's funny because only 2 people or maybe 3 people from Emerge Broward had mentioned this, but I remember Daniel was like, you always wear a Superman necklace every time I see you, and I do. Mm-hmm. Since I was a kid, I've had this. My dad actually got it for me. We went to a comic book convention, and I had the necklace, and it was like, let's make this cooler. And there was a guy selling pendants, and he just picked it up, and he was like, for you, and he bought it for me, which I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. And I love comic books and all that pop culture stuff. Superman's one of my favorite characters, and do you remember Superman's job in the comics?
Yeah, that's yeah.
So I'm like,
he was a journalist, yeah.
So what are the odds? All those things come together. My comic book love and the character, my dad getting it for me, my dad supporting me. So I'm like, that's why I wear it, and it's like my little reminder of how far I've come and what I like and just how I feel, honestly. Regardless of how shitty a situation is, it's like the character, you can always overcome it. Superman freaking died in the comics and came back.
Man, that's beautiful.
And then it just got to the point where it's people know me. Someone literally said from Emerge Broward, I'm not going to remember your name, but I put guy with Superman necklace. That's how we saved it. I'm like, that's fine.
Nile Superman. I love that. Is there any Superman moments that you can think of in your
Oh boy,
your recent life in this pivotal time frame here.
Actually, yeah, I'll share another story with you.
Yeah.
It was for it was Sun Sentinel's Boca Times. Shout out to Carrie, she's an amazing editor, still one of my favorites to this day. I was writing for Sun Sentinel in the newspaper. There was a guy named Alexio Gibson. Do you know his name?
What's the name?
Alexio Gibson.
Alexi? No, I don't know the name.
All right, well, you'll know this name. Anyways, I wrote an article on him. He was growing sea moss in his backyard during the pandemic.
Okay.
And he told me he made 7 figures in 7 months. And he's like, would you like to write about this? I'm like, yeah, this is an awesome story. And, you know, the COVID era, nothing was happening. So I'm like, now it's the opportunity to actually write something. And then he's like, yeah, I really like this. He made the cover of the paper. He posted it and everything. He gave me a little shout out. But I was watching TV one day, just going through channel whatever. I was with my parents. He was on Shark Tank. That's a name, you know.
Ah.
Yeah. And he made a deal for his sea moss with Mark Cuban and Kevin Hart. And I was like, oh my God, I wrote about that guy before, like, people really knew who he was.
Wow.
It was like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where it's like he's pointing at the TV.
Yeah. I know that guy.
And I'm like, oh, that's the guy that in Boca that I wrote about. So I remember like telling my dad, and I'm like, remember that? And he's like, yeah, I remember that one. My mom's like, yeah, I remember that too. And I sent him a text like, congratulations, you remember me? He's like, yes, I do remember you. And you actually like are the reason I'm actually kind of here. Like you gave me so much confidence, and you helped me with my journey back when, once again, started here, but now he's here. And he's like, thank you. So I was kind of like, that's kind of cool. Like to see somebody go from like 0 to hero real quick, you know? And it's kind of like I was there in the beginning. It's like, it's almost like my grandpa on my dad's side of the family. He's like, I knew James Brown before he was James Brown.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like I kind of had that moment. Like,
wow.
Like I was that guy's cheerleader before anybody else, you know?
Wow. Isn't it amazing? I guess I don't know if you're just you're coincidentally a good-hearted guy where you said like, oh, I know that guy before he was big, or I knew him, and you were rooting for him. You were a cheerleader before he became who he was, and now he's Mark Cuban, mega deal on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Why do you think you rooted for him when so many people are normally they go to the jealousy or the haterade? You know what I'm talking about?
Honestly, life is too short to hate. Like even me, like I've disliked people, but I'm not gonna sit around hating them all day. But I think it goes back to like journalism a lot, and even going back to like when I wrote about that student. When someone in South Florida wins, and if you really think about it this way, when someone in South Florida wins, we all win because they're a representation of our community and what we offer. So I kind of was always like, let's just showcase the best of our community, regardless of what it is, whether you're an artist, musician, a nonprofit. Like, I just wanted to like showcase what we have to offer. And I just always wanted to like, just get involved, you know? Like I always like, cause you know, I could have been that guy who never leaves the house. I read comics, I play Xbox or PlayStation, watch movies, and just not be outside and engaged. I could easily fall into that, but I just wanted to do more. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying, doing, you know, above and beyond what's expected. Like, yeah, you're a journalist, but you're not just doing this for the paycheck, obviously. You're doing this to like really support your community. And I think that was really big with me because even growing up, people were like, I hate South Florida, I don't want to be here. And I'm like, I'm going to give you a reason why you like it here or why you should like it here. And it kind of goes back to the stuff that I was writing about. And I don't know if you notice this, some people do, some people don't. I only focus on like mostly positive stories. Like when people are like covering negative stuff, things like that, like I kind of don't do that. It's not only negative for our community and it makes us look bad, it's draining, you know? Like if all you're taking in is negativity, it affects your soul, it affects your mind. So I just really wanted to just showcase, you know, the shine here in the sunshine state.
Wow. What? That's profound. Have you seen that impact you in a negative way professionally? Not wanting to cover the clickbait, not wanting to cover the negative?
Well, just going back to Brutally Honest, it reminds me of that movie Nightcrawler. If it bleeds, it leads. Remember Jake Gyllenhaal said that in the movie? People want negativity, and they feed into it.
In journalism, in
Especially
the news today, that's like, it's what pops.
Yeah.
It grabs everybody's attention. The top of every newspaper is, this one's sleeping with that one. I can't believe this one got killed by that one. This and the other thing.
I almost feel like that could be an SNL skit, just the constant negativity. It's ridiculous sometimes.
I completely agree.
And
finding your differential there, that could be very detrimental.
Yeah, and I just feel like with the way the world is with like anxiety and like just the way people are now, I just feel like just a little bit of positivity can go a long way. So yeah, it does affect me financially. I could cover the negative, the clickbait, and maybe make more money, but I just feel like it's once again representation of the community. It's like, let's show something bright, let's show something happy, let's show someone a successful story on an entrepreneur, artist, a business, whatever it is, and just really show that we have more to offer than just the constant negativity that people see. And plus, Florida has a bad reputation already with a lot of people.
Yeah. I guess, you were talking about people not being happy that they're from South Florida. If you had to describe South Florida to an alien visiting, relative to the whole rest of the world, how would you describe it?
Local legends.
Local legends.
Yeah.
It ain't gotta be 2 words. You can go a little bit more. But what is local legends?
No, I like local legends.
Why that?
Because for one, we're local, and I swear we build legends here. That's something I've learned doing like journalism. With doing journalism, it's like you realize there are so many entrepreneurs, so many artists, so many like successful business owners, podcasts, photographers. There's so many. We have just a pool of just everybody's working hard on something, and most of them are very successful with it. So if you're a local legend, reach out to me. I would love to tell your story, but also it's a representation of not only our community, but a representation of yourself. And I really think just that's how I would describe it to an alien. Like, if you want to come across some amazing people, legends, this is the place to be.
Local legends. Wow. It's a powerful perspective.
That's how I honestly do it. Yeah, like, we have a lot of cool shit here, honestly. A lot of amazing people.
Describe what's some of that cool shit.
Well, we're just talking about the Art Basel Week. That's something amazing. People come from all over the world just to come to this stuff. So it's right here in our backyards. And then a lot of those artists are from all over the world. But there's something about the ones that are from South Florida. When you go to like the Art Basel Week and there's that one guy who's like, I'm from Boca, or I'm from Miami or Fort Lauderdale, it's almost like, once again, that moment, you just want to give them a hug. It's like, you're representing us out here, and I love that feeling.
Wow. I love this hometown passion you have.
You have to be passionate about where you're from, yeah.
And you're born and raised in South Florida.
Yeah, and that's a funny thing, because when I tell people I'm a native, they're like, oh, I didn't know you guys were still around. Everyone is from somewhere else. Yeah.
How do you feel about the whether it be snowbirds that come part-time or everybody coming down here after COVID?
Other than rent going up, it's a great experience because they bring their interesting perspectives down here, which I also like, which I think is the reason too, like we have such a diverse community as well. Like to say I'm a native, or I met someone from Pennsylvania who recently came down. Like just all these like people coming together and making it like, it's a variety of cultures, but it makes one culture. If you think about it like that. That's how I kind of like it. And it makes it fun, Even Emerge Broward, this is the most diverse it's ever been from what they're saying.
Really?
In our meetings, yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a wide array of people.
Definitely, yeah.
And they all have their interesting, stories, where they're from. And I know we were talking earlier a little bit about that, about, individual stories. What is it that is so important to you about being a journalist and being able to give a platform to people to tell their story?
It gives like a voice to the voiceless, if you know what I mean. So if someone feels like they don't have the spotlight on them, or they don't feel like they're getting the attention they may have worked so hard for, just coming to me and telling them like, hey, maybe we can work together, maybe I can tell your story. And then when they actually read the story, they're like, wow, you expressed it like in ways I couldn't. I think that really helps a lot. And I just really feel like so many people, like, everybody knows about like the famous people already who've already made it. But what about that, once again, that little local legend that people don't know yet? So just giving them that platform to just have a voice, I think really not only matters to me, but to them and other people as well, because now they get to learn something new.
A voice to the voiceless.
Yeah, if you think about it like that, yeah, definitely.
I like that, man. That's really profound.
Mm-hmm.
What lessons have you learned this last year that were really important to you?
With my mom having her hospital incident, life is short. Tell people you love them. Tell people how you feel. And don't be afraid to leap. Honestly, if you were to tell me from as early as February, one day you're going to own a company and try to build it back from the ground up, I wouldn't have believed you. So, if you're ever feeling froggy, then leap.
What if we're afraid to leap? What if that's I think I can do it, but I don't know if I'll make it.
Well, if you're afraid to leap, you don't have to leap right away, but keep in mind, eventually you should, because what's going to leap is your mind. Your mind is going to constantly be jumping around thinking, what if I would have done this thing? And to me, that's almost worse than anything. It's like asking yourself, like, what would have happened if I would have met this person? What would have happened if I would have asked that person out? What would have, like, it's just that constant, like, regret, Yeah. And to me, that's worse than anything.
Yeah, slowly dying in the comfort is a lot worse than to take the leap of faith and possibly fly.
Right, exactly.
It's there's a song I listen to. It's like, well, if I jump, what if I fall? But what if you don't?
Exactly.
But what if you don't? You never know if you don't jump, though.
Exactly. Try. It's like a kid when they're afraid to go down the slide for the first time. I got that from an episode of Rugrats, but it's true. It was deep, and when they finally went down the slide, they were like, "Wow, I did it!" And it's just that moment of realization, like it's not as scary as I thought.
Yeah.
So I tell people all the time, like my cousin, he plays the guitar. He's passionate about music, but I feel like my grandma was like, because she's watched too many VH1 documentaries. She's like, what if he ends up in a hospital, like, I don't know, like dead or something? What if he's in a bathtub full of ice and they sell his organ on the black market and he dies or whatever? And I'm like, you've watched too many like rock and roll documentaries.
She's like, no, he didn't get like a show. He got a platinum record and now he's dramatically successful, addicted to drugs on the other end of it. That's where she is?
Yeah. I'm like, you're on level 10 before we get to level 1. But I'm like, if you like music, go to a venue or go to a local music school, or hey, if somebody wants a custom-made song or something, why don't you just write a song with them? Like, you can just do basic things, and like just feel like you have to start somewhere,
That's your advice to your cousin, I guess. What would your general advice be to somebody who is passionate about something but doesn't know where to take it, doesn't know what to do with it? They're passionate about maybe photography or just maybe journalism. Like what would be your advice for them to get on the right path, essentially?
Everyone has some type of an agenda on their phone, or even if you're old school, you have a calendar. Put up that calendar and treat it like a video game. And every day is a new level. So let's say you're scared to maybe go to a networking event. Look up networking events that night, and then maybe they have one on Wednesday. You put on your calendar, regardless of what happens, I'm going to go there Wednesday, and I'm going to speak to at least 3 people. And then you do it. And then it's like, okay, I did it. And then if you treat that calendar like some type of video game console or your favorite video game and you're trying to get to that next level, that's what you do. Or even going back to like the gym, hey, I'm going to lift some weights today, but next time I come here, I'm going to just add a couple more weights. and then a couple more the next week, and a couple more the next week. So if you really are scared to go on that like business venture or anything really, just set some type of schedule for yourself and treat it like a game. I do that every day. Like every day I'm like, I'm gonna do this, do this, do this. And even if you don't get to it that day, that's fine. Because it's like a video game. You're not gonna get through the whole video game in one day. It might take some time.
So, progressive growth, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that, what's your advice to the version of you where you were previously afraid of networking events, previously nervous, and were in that, more of a video game and what do they call it, introvert aspect? Were you always an extrovert?
No, I think I'm somewhere in the middle,
Okay.
honestly. Honestly, there have been times like, even going back to when I was in college actually, like I would show up, but I didn't show up. So like, I remember they had the FAU newspaper. I only wrote one article, but I wanted to write more. I didn't want to be like a one-hit wonder, but I was afraid of like, just, I don't know, I was afraid to really say like, hey, this is what I want. And that's something I actually want to mention. We're afraid to say what we want, but say the words I want. If you go to a networking event, I want to speak with you. I want to know more. I want to get more involved. Say what you want. And, I think when we say I want, we feel like we're being like a little selfish, but say what you want. And then by saying what you want, you will feel more confident to do certain things because you simply put out there to the world, literally, this is what I want. And then once you say what you want, you're going to do everything in your power to try to get what you want. It's almost like human nature. Animal nature, even.
Yeah. You want a mate, you want food, you're going to go find A or B.
Yeah, literally. You want an opportunity, you want to get more involved, yeah, it's going to happen. But like, just going back to like FAU, I felt like I could have done more there, especially even like, because I went from Broward College to FAU. And I remember graduating from Broward College, and of course my family was happy and I was happy, but I felt like somewhere in there I could have done more when I was here. And then I said with FAU, I kind of felt that as well. But now that we're done with school, we're in the real world, and I'm not going to have that feeling anymore. So it's like Taylor Swift, you just kind of shake it off and, go to the next thing and just simply try. I find a lot of people are scared, but you have to at least try.
I think you're the third person to quote Taylor Swift on the podcast.
I won't do that often.
No, listen, there's nothing wrong with it. I think I think she's got a lot of inspirational messages that are clicking. Therefore, why she has such a powerful following, if you will. Yeah, shake it off, keep going. Now, how do you know a year from now you're not going to feel that way, that you haven't done enough?
That's a good question. That's a great, Patrick, that's an amazing question.
Thank you.
How do I know I'm not gonna? Well, one thing I personally do is, whether you want to reflect or look back at your notes, I write down everything that's happened in a year, and then come towards the end of the year, I just look through it, like I did this, I did this, I did this, whether it's on your phone or you physically write it down or you simply just remember it. And if you can smile at the end of reading that, in my opinion, you did well. Like, even if you're like, it's just a small grin, like, yeah, I did that. Like, it's like a grin that's like, yeah, I did that shit. It's like, you feel you accomplished something. If you read it and flip through it and you feel nothing, then you kind of have to go back to the blueprint or the drawing board. And it's like, okay, what went wrong? So that's what I got. Like, every year I always do that. I just simply look back at my notes to reflect, like, this is what I've done.
And that's on a macro level, a micro level? Do you do that monthly? How does that actually break down, like if you were doing it?
Oh, I do it yearly, like literally every year. So it's not even quarterly or monthly.
Every December, January?
Oh yeah, once
your birthday, the 21st?
Yeah. Honestly, it's always like New Year's. Like before New Year's, I'm like, we need to sit down, even if it takes 15 to 30 minutes, and really look back at our notes. We did this, we did this, we did this. We didn't do this, but however we did this, and then really think about like, okay, this is what we did. What do we do now? for the new year.
I love that. That's a powerful assessment of the year.
It is actually, and also it's almost like a book in a way. It's like you'll look through and it's like, oh yeah, I forgot that I did that, and it's like a surprise, you know. It's like a thriller. It builds up the suspense. It's like, oh, what's next? Oh yeah, I also did this, you know.
You know, I did that for New Year's, like last year.
Really? Okay.
Last year was just such an insane year for me. That was when I turned 30.
Yeah.
I happened to go back and I was scrolling through I was trying to make a highlight reel of the year of like all of the things that I did. Started my business, did a dopey thing on social media, here, there, and everywhere. And it was something that I never realized how much I achieved in that year.
Exactly, yeah.
But that was without setting goals. That was kind of just like, well, we'll do fun stuff as it comes along. I'll do things as it comes, not as, well, I'm going to intentionally set out to do this, to do this, to do this, to do this. That was, I mean, it was a profound year. It was 30. So there was a lot of anxiety and thought and concern going into that year to start. So going back and reflecting all of that, and just like, wow, I can't believe this is what occurred, what happened.
And sometimes that's the way to go, is just go with the flow. Like my grandma says that with me. She's like, you're the kind of person who kind of just goes with it. And I'm like, and sometimes that's the way to go. Because, you know, my grandma was one of these people, like on my mom's side, you got to get this done by this age, you got to do that by that age, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just go with the flow, honestly. Because what happens if you do set those, like, big life lesson things, like she's like, you should have been married 5 years ago or whatever. And I'm like, well, what happens if I'm not? Am I a failure in life? No. What about all these other things that are successful?
Those expectations are just so antiquated with, you need to be married by 30 and have a kid by 35 and this, that, the other thing. I mean, it sets you up for failure. I think it pushes people into relationships with people that they're not really happy and they're not even themselves with.
Yeah.
Because of an expectation from an elder or even themselves. It's, to me, it's an upsetting expectation.
Yeah, and I don't preach it like my family members who say things like this, because they can only share and teach what they know.
Yes,
yeah.
Of course.
And of course that's what they know from their time period and just certain things like that.
Yeah, that was, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Not even, like, that's where they learned it from you know, and the world was a very different place at that time, in that chapter. And it's going to be a very different place 100 years from now. So what we know and our expectations that we're going to, I don't know if you want children, but to bestow upon our next generation is going to be very different from what they may need or want.
Yeah, definitely.
With that, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, I'll make this quick joke, and then I'll say what I want to be remembered for.
Okay.
Every editor, like literally 95% of them, told me that my articles are good, but I have bad titles.
Okay.
So I made a joke with my parents one day. When I die, I wanted to say on my tombstone, the title could have been better. But I'm all serious. Like if people do remember me, I want to be remembered as someone who cared about the community they were in. They were a supporter of just simply human beings, honestly. Because there's not enough of that, honestly. So I just feel like if people are going to remember me, whether it's today, tomorrow, after death, whatever it is, like, that guy wasn't so bad. He actually supported us. I know some people want to be remembered for, like, being the craziest guy in the room, the loudest guy in the room, or whatever, but I'm like, if someone remembers me and they simply are like, good guy, that's good to me.
Yeah. I've been to a number of funerals, and the loudest guys in the room, or the craziest the lines aren't as long as the good guys. As the people that impacted individuals in a positive and meaningful way. That to me what it always, where that question derives from. It's like, what do you want people to say at your funeral? How do they want to remember you? When you're in the box, what are the words being said in that room?
Wow. He kept it real. I don't know if that's something that's acceptable at a funeral, but something among those lines.
It's all acceptable. It's all acceptable.
He was authentic.
Yeah.
He was authentic with other people and himself. He simply cared about not only himself but other people, going back to the voice of the voiceless thing. And if they want to say I was a good writer, hey, that's nice too. But I just want people to be genuine. Actually, my dad said something like this, like when he passes away, he doesn't want people to be sad. He wants them to just simply tell stories like, hey, remember when Clifford Fortner, my dad, did that thing? Hey, remember when he did that thing? Remember when this happened? And I kind of think I want the same thing. You don't really have to say too much about me, but if you have stories or anything you want to share like that, then go ahead.
I love that.
If anything, it's a chance for my family members to maybe share some embarrassing stories, and I'll be okay.
But I mean, something like that, they're told with such profound love, such profound impact. Because the bad stories don't come up. It's the ones that are really funny or really meaningful when you were there to help someone.
Yeah.
This, that, or the other thing, or when you slipped and fell and had that embarrassing moment when the whole bookshelf came down.
Yeah.
We've all had those moments, and I think it's really beautiful, man.
Yeah.
How can we support you? How can our millions of followers here support you and help any aspect of your personal, professional life, spiritual life grow here? How can we help you?
You can simply support me.
What do you want?
Exactly. I want you to support me by checking out my work, such as my written content, whether it's for my personal page, such as Our South Florida or Los Olas Insider, but also check out the other publications that I work with too, such as the New Pelican newspaper, Broward Arts, Fort Lauderdale Magazine, a whole bunch of stuff. So if you support them, you're supporting me, honestly. And I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying, just that overall community love, you know? And also, I would really love if you guys just, if you have a story you want to tell, let's say you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, an artist, if you feel like you deserve to have your story told, reach out anytime. That's what I tell people all the time. I'm not hard to find.
What's the best way for them to reach out?
I'm on Instagram. It's just my name, Niall_Fortner. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook as well. So I'm on all the pretty much major social media platforms.
Beautiful.
And it has my email and the link and phone number.
Amazing. All right. Any last words you want to share with the audience here?
Yeah, I want to say one last thing, actually. I feel like it's a miracle that opportunities like this happen. Like, I never thought, like, being with Emerge Broward, I'd be on a podcast talking about things like that. So I'm just thankful for, like, these little itty-bitty miracles, and I feel like life is made of, like, little itty-bitty miracles. And, when people hear miracles, I think they talk about, like, walking on water and stuff like that. But to me, like, the real miracle is, like, you get to have moments like this, and I just wanted to share that.
Wow. It doesn't always have to be water into wine. It could be just the ability or the opportunity to get to know somebody on a deeper and more meaningful way.
Right. It's opportunities like this, and just going back to the beginning, bars like this, I'm going to eat this.
He's hungry. Well, dude, I agree. I want to thank you so much for your time, for your energy, your vulnerability, your advice, your passion. Thank you for sharing all of that with not only myself, but our millions of subscribers here. Wow, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you, guys.
Such a pleasure. Man, that's so awesome.